So, this is something that's been on my bucket list for a while, as long as I can remember being a 3D artist. And it's something that I kept procrastinating, but this year, since it's officially the beginning of 2025, and since we moved into the realm of medieval fantasy art style, one of my New Year's resolutions was to have my medieval style weapons template completed to make it easier to design new characters in the future. Now, I have literally tried everything to put off making these. I've tried other people's packs on ArtStation, on the Unity Asset Store, on the Unreal Marketplace, but I kept running into the same problems over and over and over, which is sometimes the UVs just aren't properly done, or the UVs just don't exist, or the textures are not optimized, or the topology is atrocious, or the topology was designed for 3D printing and not game design, or they don't have enough textures to make different sets and classes of each weapon, or they're just missing basic weapon classes like lances or axes. And AI doesn't really solve this problem either, because just about every website that I've found pumps out models with atrocious topology, superficial textures at best, and in the end, it's almost always easier to just model it correctly from the ground up the first time than to fix someone else's work. So that's what I did. I decided, let's just do it the right way, all the way, with all the features that I would normally need if I was using these weapons for my own traditional classic medieval fantasy RPG. And one of the reasons I think this pack was so important for me is because after you've made a few projects, you kind of realize that grunt weapons is one of those things that almost always gets overlooked. And most people really don't notice until it's too late. But if you just think about it, even your most basic default grunt enemy needs to be equipped with something, even if it's a basic traditional classic blade. Like the bandits need axes, the cavalry need lances, the archers need bows. These basic weapons, even though they're nothing special, still need to be there. And if you're working on a game, they also need to have several variations depending on the enemy's strength and level. So the system that I created for you here is modeled after the system of one of my favorite games, Fire Emblem, where the different color schemes for each weapon signify the different levels of damage they would do. I have a basic 5 color scheme system where from weakest to strongest we got bronze, iron, steel, silver, and gold. Each level has their own unique set of materials, patterns, and colors. However, these patterns are consistent across every weapon. Every sword, every axe, every bow, they all have these same multiple different schemes that are pre-created for you so you don't have to do it later. Now, of course, you can always go in and create your own textures and adjust it if you really want to, but you don't have to. This pack was really designed for you to be able to front load all of the boring standard weapons and systems without needing to recreate the wheel from scratch. When you have this as a base, it allows you to spend your time focusing on the more important things like the main character's weapon or the main bad guy's weapon, which usually look way more over the top and cooler. Like obviously if your main character's weapon is going to look like Soul Calibur, then yeah, you're probably going to have to model that from scratch, but at least you can do that without having to worry about modeling all the less exciting stuff that your grunt enemies are going to need. So, there are 26 weapons in total. Each of these represents what I believe to be the epitome of what the typical weapon in that class would look like. Like, I'm a big fan of simple classic design. I know swords can be extremely over-designed and beautiful, but something about a simple, solid broadsword design will always look timeless and good. So I went in with that mentality for every class of each weapon. Basically, when you hear the word sword, I'm hoping the design that I made is probably more or less what you were imagining. I did, however, take the liberty of adding a few variations to the classics that I thought were very common. For example, with the axes, I added a halberd and a short axe variation. And within the sword category, we have the one-handed sword, the two-handed sword, the bastard sword. And within the shields, I tried to include all the traditional shapes like the Hylian shield, Palutina's and Cassandra's shield, and the Viking shield. And this one cool shield from this one fight that I really liked. There's also several different bows ranging from basic to spicy to elvish and stylized. Nothing crazy, but unique enough to supply an entire game. There are also a few extra texture sets besides the iron, steel, and gold ones. For example, the shields also come in crimson, cobalt, and gold, because I think shields are a really great way to add color to your character. And the bows also have a wood variant, and the swords include a crimson variant for those more demonic and bloody evil enemies. All in all, there's 551 4K texture maps, which I have gone ahead and compressed in Unreal to 1024 for optimization purposes. It literally took me about 94 hours to complete the modeling, mapping, texturing, exporting, importing, low, medium, and high LODs, plugging them up correctly in Unreal 5 so you don't have to. There are 2 materials, one for the weapons and one for the arrows because the arrow tails need to be double-sided, and 182 material instances to avoid having to make new materials for everything. And it's all organized and ready to go out the box. And also, I know lots of you guys are working outside of Unreal, or you're not game developers, or you're just working in Blender. So I also went in and provide the original Blender file with all of the weapons in their low poly, non-destructive workflow using subdivision modifiers, so you can easily make any adjustments that you see fit without having to remodel everything. And I've translated all of the texture maps into the usual standard Blender style texture maps, where everything is separated into roughness, metallic, occlusion, normal, and color. So if you want, you can easily adjust these with any image software of your choice. If you don't need the textures and you just want the objects, I got a file with all the OBJs, or if you prefer FBXs, I got a file with all the FBXs. And if you just need an overview map, I also have a folder that has screenshots of every item included in this set. All in all, this has been about 7 to 9 days of straight work, and personally I think this is the most professional asset pack I've ever produced. I'm actually really proud of it, and if you do get this pack, just remember this is my personal collection, and I use this myself for all my projects. I really try my best to make things reasonably affordable. Like normally when I 3D model hard surface weapons and armor for commissions, I usually charge about $300 per model. But obviously when we're doing a pack like this, I want to make it affordable. So these weapons are actually really cheap compared to what I would normally charge for a custom commission. But that's mainly because I just wanted this to be something that a small studio could definitely afford. So I think $35 is pretty fair. I'm super excited for the rest of 2025. I think we're off to a pretty good start. Can't wait to make more stuff. But in the meanwhile, thank you so much for watching. And as always, hope you have a fantastic day. And I'll see you around.